2020 was a very interesting time for competitive tactical shooters. Valve's CSGO, after reigning on top for decades, received some serious competition with Riot Games' Valorant dropping in July that year, to which Valve's response was to turn on RTX and write a 2 on it. Valorant obviously hit the ground absolutely blitzing, throwing money into every department it possibly could. But the point is, Riot played all their cards to get as successful of a release as possible. But another game was right behind Valorant, a tactical shooter just like it, Rogue Company. Developed by First Watch Games and published by the infamous Hi-Rez. Rogue Company entered closed beta on the same month Valorant dropped, fully releasing a few months later. Unlike any other tactical shooter, it was a 4v4 and completely third person, utilizing shoulder switching and dodge rolls to complement this difference, with a longer time to kill, making fights less about whose PC is closer to the server room. Despite being a much smaller fish, Rogue Company carved out a surprisingly big audience early on, getting sponsorship deals with major esports teams, major certified diddlers, major beasts, and Ninja.
Fade, like, meme is, dude, it is still massive.
Hi-Rez was fairly used to being overshadowed by whatever bigger game theirs was similar to, but the attention Rogue Company received was unlike anything the studio has ever seen. Years later, RoCO is a shell of its former self, practically dropped in the ocean and left to sink. So where did it all go wrong? Well, let's talk about it. Throughout the years, Hi-Rez has pushed a very consistent development model, making solid games at the low cost of free, while, whether coincidental or not, piggybacking off of whatever genre is most popular at that time. And there's no shade being thrown there, but when you take a quick look at their history, you'll see that they dabble in lots of different genres. This time, it's a tactical shooter, borrowing elements of third-person shooters like Gears of War and unique heroes instead of terrorist number 4369, with abilities not quite on the level of other hero shooters, but still adding very unique variables to the game. General gameplay is very simple, with you being able to change the shoulder you look over to change which direction you peek from, and a universal dodge roll to get you out of trouble. Unlike any other tactical shooter, time to kill is noticeably longer since most weapons will not one-shot headshot, besides snipers, of course.
Nice shot.
More interestingly, gun spread for most guns are super forgiving when aiming or hip firing at close range, but you can't just point blank crouch spam somebody like you would in Fortnite, which feels incredibly goofy, but hey, it's unique from the other games, I guess. Firefights in general are super fast paced, and you aren't at risk of getting one-tapped unless the other guy is insanely cracked. Now, despite the very simple gameplay mechanics, Rogue Company managed to garner a very impressive amount of attention, to the point it surpassed the amount of players Hi-Rez's other games like Paladins and even Smite received in a single day. Approximately 2.5 million players since the open beta. That's crazy. October 2020 was easily the time RoCO was at its peak, locking down sponsorships with the likes of 100 Thieves, Ninja,
He railed me like that from behind.
The Beast, and Dr. Disrespect. Oh boy. And these weren't just one and dones either. Not only did 100 Thieves make videos on RoCO, they also dropped their own skins for 4 of the characters and even a live action cinematic.
Oh snap.
Of course the black guy got shot first. They had Ninja hop on with the lead designer Scott Gandhi, and it went so well he actually came back to play more. They had the Beast make a few videos a year apart from each other, which gained insanely high views, even if the game he's sponsoring was nowhere to be seen in the thumbnail or title. I guess that's just Beast things. But most famously, they managed a deal with Dr. Disrespect, who already had a lot of eyes on him since he was just banned in July. They gave him his own skin and a whole ass map, goddamn.
I want a competitive game with the game. I want a competitive game.
Great choice for real. But you know what? Hi-Rez had mad balls for picking up Dog, especially in the middle of his controversy. The whole Twitch ban situation, at the time I guess, was just vague enough that they wouldn't catch shit for it. Quite the opposite. It's a shame that completely blew up in their face with the diddler allegations. And just like what happens to a streamer that gets outed and all their sponsors toss him in the trash, Hi-Rez removed all his cosmetics years later. And yeah, Came Back from the Dead and Break Silence are harsh titles, but this game really did pop his head out from 6 feet under 3 years later just to do this to the 2 people playing who still wanted to use these cosmetics. These were $40 bundles just getting yoinked from people, and initially they weren't even refunding until they caught backlash because they probably expected no one would give a shit, let's be real. In general though, I think sponsorships like these, while it did successfully bring in lots of traffic to RoCO, are actually a really ass way to market your game, especially if you don't market outside of these deals, which Hi-Rez certainly haven't. Currently, there's 24 rogues in the game, separated into 5 roles: breachers, defenders, intels, duelists, and supports. You can draw a lot of parallels to Valorant, but just cram intel and support into one role. Each character has a passive ability, active ability, 2 primaries and 1 secondary to choose from, a melee, and a few throwables. In matches, you can choose from a variety of perks that you can buy and upgrade throughout. Back in my day, each character was locked to their own arsenal of weapons unless they pick up a different gun from a corpse on the ground. You would think this means characters were super limited in their kits, but nah. It gave them unique identities and, more importantly, kept the game balanced. If you wanted a guns blazing duelist with full auto SMGs and ARs or even shotguns, you would play Lancer or Ronin. If you wanted big men with big guns, you would play Anvil and Mac. If you wanted to be a sweat, you could play Phantom or the Fixer. Before, who you picked weighed on many factors. Is it worth picking Dallas for his ability if you're forced to use a bunch of slow, single target weapons? What if Lancer, who can instantly reload on her dodge roll, could always run an LMG or a better SMG? Well, fuck that noise. Weapon masteries allow you to open literally any weapon, melee or throwable, to be used on anyone. Balanced be damned, I say. When Hi-Rez makes a banger of a game, for whatever reason they immediately do anything in their power to shove unwanted changes down everyone's throat, and I call this the Hi-Rez Effect. They've done the same thing to Realm Royale by removing its class system, literally the main reason people enjoy the damn game. Paladins with its open beta 64 patch, shoving RNG pay to win loot boxes to upgrade characters. You know what? We don't talk about OB64. And most recently, Rogue Company. Weapon masteries were only the tip of the iceberg of what went wrong after Season 1. Season 2 in May 2021 not only reduced time to kill, making fights way less strategic, their newest edition mag had passive armor that replenishes on knocks, making him obnoxiously hard to kill. Season 3 introduced masteries which completely removed rogues' identities. Now people would just run around with the best rogues and the best weapons, making the game even faster paced and boring for no reason. This led to metas like everyone running the Objection in Season 5, which was an incredibly solid SMG that was initially only available for a support and defender.
No match for the Objection.
But, well, am I right? Then Season 6 in April 22 introduced speed and toughness.
You've been hearing a lot about rogue identity lately from us. We want our rogues to feel different and unique. Adding the speed and toughness system adds another layer of depth to their kit, another knob for us to balance.
Yeah, as if these fools needed another variable to worry about balancing. Each rogue was assigned up to 5 stars of speed and toughness, which on release scaled at 5% per star. For example, if you had 1 star in speed or toughness, you move 5% slower or take 5% more damage. And if you had up to 5, you would be 15% faster or take 15% less damage. This is the worst system I have ever seen. TTK and speeds were so wildly inconsistent it made their previous issues even worse. They basically just created a problem that they would never be able to fix. Which is why after lightly attempting to balance it, they just scrapped it after a year. Cool. And the bugs, man. Not the bugs! Even if this wasn't developed by Hi-Rez, just the fact they touched this game cursed it with endless bullshittery. So many weird ass bugs, some funny, some pretty annoying, and some that will send your entire gaming system out the window. I can't tell you why bugs are so incredibly rampant, except that's just a Hi-Rez patented incompetence when it comes to anything but selling as much garbage as they possibly can. And just like their other games, they would squash 1 bug and 100 more would pop out. It was ridiculous. RoCO's on Season 11 now, since April 2023, with absolutely no end in sight. The game's in a damn limbo. RoCO Company truly has just lost its identity. Despite its casual gameplay, it was first and foremost a competitive tactical shooter. But eventually they just stopped balancing around their main bomb defusal mode and just switched gears to their more casual TDM mode, which divided the community. Then they just kept leaning more into it, adding a cheap battle royale light mode basically. Then a 6v6 TDM, and on top of every other previous horrible decision they've made, now I genuinely can't tell you what RoCO is supposed to be anymore. And neither can the devs, which is why there's just absolute radio silence.
Oh yeah, they also dropped a mobile port of the game for some reason. Best part, it probably ran better than on the Switch.
We don't need the monitor.
In the event a game Hi-Rez sharded out doesn't perform, well, make them any money, they will not hesitate to launch it into the bin, which is basically what happened here. Hi-Rez will never realize the absolute gold mine they hit, and even if they did, they went way too far off the mark to fix it now. RoCO Company was gearing up to be one of the biggest games Hi-Rez have ever made, which was always surprising to me since I didn't ever think a TPS tactical shooter would stick like RoCO did. But unfortunately, with the layoffs in Hi-Rez Studios, RoCO will never be able to reclaim its former glory. It was a damn good game though. It really didn't deserve the state it's in now. But Hi-Rez is always gonna be Hi-Rez. Thanks for watching. Like, sub, hit that bell, all that, and I'll catch you later.